because there's no point in talking about that because it's under garbage. Burn, Hollywood, burn.
Yes.
At the moment, there is a huge actors and writers strike on in Hollywood. I must admit, I haven't kept up fully with the information on this, but the information I have gleaned is one of the reasons that the actors are on strike at the moment is because they want to basically take people's identities and use them without their consent. This would include people like background extras. So when you have scenes, obviously you have background artists, extras and so forth in the back of the scenes. They want to be able to scan those people's faces and how they move and walk so they can just recreate them in CGI. So instead of paying extras £100 a day, maybe 200 or 300 of them, which is going to cost you thousands of pounds, you can do it all pretty much next to nothing in a computer. I can't even comprehend how somebody came up and actually said this was a good idea, that it was going to work. It's incredible.
Yeah. Well, I've just been watching Black Mirror. We've had the exact same situation with Joni's Awful episode.
Yeah.
Where they CGI Salma Hayek and Kate Blanchett. Yeah, exactly. Who needs the CGI extras? Do you know, if they said to you, listen, we're filming a couple of miles down the road, we're filming a blah blah film, whatever, we need some extras, we need some fat dudes with glasses and beards, do you want to come down and be an extra? And you might see yourself in the cinema, you'd be like, yeah, fuck it, I'll go down and see it, I don't need pain, I don't need a CGI, I don't need to waver my lookalike away. It's just
well, they're talking about beyond that. I mean, they're talking about stars, scanning them in now, and then they can use, we saw a thing with Leonard Nimoy in some Star Trek thing, right? And it's like, I'm just looking at this like, okay, well, what are movies? I mean, what is film at its most basic level? It's art, right?
Yeah.
Art is there's nothing more human and organic than truly creating art in whatever medium you're doing. And if we're just going to give it all to AI, how is it art anymore? I mean, really, how is it something that humans have created? If it's just, we're just cogs and we're just watching machine generated entertainment. And it's just, there's no, art is the one thing that you can actually put a piece of a person's soul into an inanimate object. It's the only way to do that. And you can't do that with AI.
No, you can't.
Counter argument. The only problem with that is art is offensive. In certain times, modern art and all these kind of things, and some art that is created is offensive, and obviously we don't want to offend anyone anymore because people will get upset.
I mean, so that's
to hand this over to computers.
I think the reality is, Nick just said, CGI extras eat too much and are unreliable. It's down to God. Listen, I shared a tweet earlier. I'm just going to read it. It's on the left. Someone's talking about because Inception by Christopher Nolan is 20 years old today or something, 18, whatever. And do you know the scene where he's talking to Ellen Page before she cut her tits off and had a surge dick stuck to her?
Oh, yeah.
You know the cafe scene where everything blows up in the backgrounds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so this is how they did it. This is just, going back to Christopher Nolan and giving audiences what they want and not solely relying on CGI, which we'll talk about. So it says here, to create the Paris cafe explosion sequence, air cannons were used to send objects flying through the air. Cameras were used to capture 1,500 frames per second, and CGI was used to extend the effect. This was then played at 24 frames a second. So when you see the fruit and vegetables blowing up and the chairs, obviously Leonardo DiCaprio and Ellen Page aren't being blown up, but they're obviously around things happening in the background. That's how he done it. He done it with practical effects, and he used CGI to enhance it, to put you really in the moment. He could have CGI'd the whole thing, and he didn't. He found a solution for the problem. And we had this earlier. There's another thing here where we had Samuel L. Jackson in And the fact is Samuel Jackson sitting on a chair in a green screen. They CGI'd the background in and the gun in his hand. It's like, where do you draw the line? Where do you get this element of reality and then the overuse of CGI?
Well, let's go back to what Setlick said. He says CGI extras eat too much and are unreliable. Well, let's say guys, real extras are like that, right? And that there is a lot of, I think back. Let's go back to the original Star Wars. I mean, there's all kinds of mistakes in that. The stormtrooper banging his head, right?
Bangs his head, yeah.
All the imperfections is what gives film and art a type of human reality. And if you smooth all that out with CGI so you can make perfect, so there's no mistakes, no nothing, it's soulless. You can't really enjoy it. It's not going to work.
That is exactly the same thing that we've got with the problem with modern writing, how the main protagonist in most modern movies have no flaws. They have nothing to overcome. They have nothing to defeat. They're just perfect from straight away. So you don't identify with them in any way, shape, or form. No, it's okay to have perfections, and it's okay to make mistakes. It's perfectly all right. But yeah, like I say, that you can't identify with these people because of how wonderfully perfect they are.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, the current crop of writers, I think, were programmed by the algorithm. Quite frankly, they are ridiculous. And I said how many of the only thing they know is the inside of a therapist session. But I mean, if all these people get gone, I got a problem with that, and we can replace them with humans. But you can't. AI is not the answer to this, in my opinion. No. It can't. No. Art is too imperfect, and that's why it is so treasured and so necessary. Yeah.
Here's your thought. So I'm writing sorry to interrupt, Matt, but I'm writing a script on the moment on a local railway. Now, I've been putting together the facts and the details. I have been using ChatGPT a little bit to give it a sentence and say, can you please make this sound a little bit more nostalgic? And it just adds a few flourishes and a few bits and pieces here and there. The content is all the same, but and I've not been doing it everywhere, but just here and there. I've been finding that a useful tool to helping with my writing. My dad used to do my writing. He passed away. He's not doing it anymore. I'm trying to do it myself, and it's harder than I thought. So it's just adding a little bit of a flourish and a little bit of a, something just to make it that little bit more interesting. If you use AI as a bit of a tool, that's not a problem, but you can... it's like taking a hammer and and it's like taking a hammer and trying to bang in a screw with it. It's not the right tool for the right job. Yes, it can be useful, but at the same time, you can't just rely on it. Like I said, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. Human beings have flaws, and so do the characters that we worship and love. Luke Skywalker had flaws. Indiana Jones has flaws. Maverick has flaws. I mean, look at the success of Top Gun and Top Gun Maverick. Top Gun. He was an egotistical little bastard who needed bringing down a peg or two. And then we catch up with him nearly 40 years later, and the reputation from Top Gun is still hindering him as a mature man now. And people like us who grew up watching Maverick and being, 20 years old going, oh, yeah, that's me. I can relate to him now because he's now facing the repercussions of the problems that he caused at the beginning, because he was always, fly by night and risk-free. And we need this. But like you said, Phil, every character we watch at the moment, especially with Disney and Marvel, and even Star Trek now, they're perfect characters. I mean, listen, me and you, we're big Star Trek fans. Look at Picard's character arc from when he first appeared in episode 1 of season 1. How he was flawed and rigid and strict and wouldn't really listen to advice, and he knew to how he grew over the next 5 or 6 seasons to become who we love now. And we don't have that anymore. These people are fully fledged, perfect characters.
Yeah, I think that was there was a legitimate criticism of how characters were back in the 50s and the 60s. You could say that about, like, say, Superman, The Adventures of Superman, George Reeves, he had no flaws, whereas Christopher Reeve did, because he cared too much, or he couldn't separate his feelings for Lois, and that cost her life to a certain extent, and had to deal with that. And he was willing to break the rules. I mean, there's a lot of things. Even a character like Superman, who seems to be perfect, can be written with flaws. The thing with AI is that, the reason why good writers make great stories, you take Tolkien. Tolkien lived through war. He made all kinds of mistakes, I'm sure, but also lived to watching all kinds of mistakes happen and the death and destruction. And he ends up writing The Lord of the Rings from that experience. AI has no ability to experience anything. It's not possible. No. So you can't write something that gets to you through this tool because it doesn't understand things that just take time. You have to live the years and get that onto your soul before you can blast it out into a story.
The whole expression of whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And AI's not been through that. Nobody tried to kill it yet, apart from Sarah Connor. but in all seriousness, like I say,
Sarah Connor was right.
Sarah Connor was right.
You can't. The experiences that you've gone through, both the positive and the negative, have made you the person that you are today, and that makes you interesting and gives you stories and that kind of. Yeah. AI doesn't do that. It just regurgitates information that it kind of gleans from certain websites and stuff.
Yeah, it's got no experience. Setlick has said something great. Character growth has been replaced with character assassination, and that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're now using character growth with people like Ray, or all the characters on Star Trek Strange New Worlds, and they're using these new characters to destroy the old characters that we all fell in love with and made the franchises what they are now. And that's he's hit the nail right on the head with that.
That's, again, just to call up another expression he said there, I'm considered a professional because I've learned from my mistakes and improved on the current standards. Again, that's what makes you better. Where I work, I'm not constantly making mistakes, but if I make a mistake, somebody corrects me so I don't make that same mistake again. And that just improves your learning and everything else. When you're just screenshots for information just so that you can pass yourself off or whatever, like I say, there's no emotion or anything in it. It's just literally a computer who is just using buttons. It's kind of like a parrot regurgitating words that it's heard. A parrot says, "Who's a pretty Polly?" because everybody says it. "Who's a pretty Polly?" It's not talking to you. It's not having a conversation. It hasn't got emotions or feelings. It's just regurgitating words.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what you've been saying this for a long time now. You look at some of these new shows and everything is centered around therapy.
Yeah.
And talking about your emotions, because this writer's strike, I see elements of both sides. I can understand why they're pissed off. When you're getting Hollywood executives earning tens of millions of pounds and they're getting paid peanuts. But at the end of the day, these writers are so out of touch with reality, they can't write about anything apart from getting a fucking Starbucks and talking to their therapist about how they feel and how they're suffering from PTSD.
How oppressed they feel.
Starbucks, because Starbucks have run out of their favourite flavour latte. You don't live in the real world. You've been sheltered, and unfortunately, you're the victim of your own reality that you're building. So there's an element of the writers go fuck yourselves because you can't write anything of any substance anyway. But there's the same point as where the studio executives have commissioned you to write stuff like this. So it's a catch-22. My attitude is, like we said, burn Hollywood, burn, because the writers aren't giving us what we want. And the studio executives are commissioning these ghastly people with their pink and blue hair and their multiple genders and everything else to write stuff that is so... Listen, I'm deviating because I'm rambling now, but Star Trek Strange New Worlds, there's no... You look at the Enterprise, Yoda, and the Enterprise is massive. You've got Pike. He's in his own kitchen in his quarters. Now, it's been referred to, but you look at the original Star Trek, where the quarters were nothing more than probably 10-foot by 10-foot rooms with a bed in and a table. It was even mentioned with Scotty, when Scotty was in The Next Generation, where they would put him into one of the rooms. He was like, "I don't want special treatment." And I was like, "Oh, this is a standard headquarters, a standard room," and he was huge. He was like, "We never had anything like this." And you look at Star Trek Enterprise, where they was literally ducking to get under certain certain rooms, or there was beams coming across them. And now you're suddenly looking at Star Trek Enterprise, Star Trek in Strange New Worlds. You're like, your apartment, your
it's got a fireplace.
Are bigger than my house. Yeah, you've got a fireplace and a kitchen. Yeah.
Really?
It's a bad idea on a spaceship.
You've got no comprehension of what's gone before, and this is the problem. You writers are whining that you're not getting enough money, but you're not giving us anything because you don't know the source material, because you're too arrogant and you're too lazy to go and research and watch old Star Treks and go, they didn't live like this. This is not how they lived.
Well, Phil, let me get back to something you said earlier. You said you make a mistake, you learn from the mistake, you don't make the mistake again. I think to a certain extent, a computer can be programmed on task level to do that same thing. But what I'm trying to talk about is, like, you've had things happen to you that you could not fix. They weren't mistakes. You just could not fix them. Maybe that you got victimized by something. Maybe, you got hit by a car, whatever. You could think a relationship didn't work out. All these failures that necessarily you didn't make the wrong move. It was an experience you had to have that maybe shapes your worldview. And that shaping of a worldview cannot be done in a machine. It can only be done through experiences. And that worldview is going to be unique to every single person that lives. And every single person that lives can, some of those people are going to have the talent to make stories in ways that, inspires millions of other people. You can't do that with an AI. You can't.
No. But you can't do that, Yoda. You can't do that when some of these writers that are now protesting are responsible for leading some of the franchises that we've grown to love and made what they are.
I mean, that goes to my point.
They're so removed from reality.
They don't have any experiences. That's my point, isn't it?
No, they don't.
They don't have any. They don't have any experiences that got them out of their little bubble, their little egg, their comfortable little womb. And whenever anything happens, they go run to a therapist.
You'll find they have been oppressed very badly, actually.
Yeah, do you know what? Right? They've never been fucking. They've never been bullied. They've never been told home truths. They've never probably been smacked by a parent, and they've got no comprehension of what life is really like. This is when they come out and they've been tasked with these things of writing stuff. They don't understand because it's so far removed. What's that clicking noise? Right. Are you clicking a space bar or something? What is that? Can you not hear that?
Well, I can't hear anything. Right, I was just going to say that you made me lose my point now. Damn it.
I know you're clicking your mouse. Just say it. Jesus Christ.
I can hear click. Can you hear that? Is that just me?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Is it this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Really? That's supposed to be like a really quiet mouse bloody thing.
Yeah. You're sitting in an incognito tab looking at Pornhub.
Yeah.
Actually, this microphone is not that good because it's not been picking up my farts. So every time I go...
Yes, they have. We've just been nice.
Right, okay, I'll stop clicking then. Damn you. I'm not messing with him. It's just a mistake.
Goddamn arm and point the goddamn thing where it's supposed to be. Can we be a professional here?
When I get paid, sure.
Shit.
I do need to fiddle around with my microphone because it picks up this as well.
Yes, it does. Yes.
Yeah, I know, and I can't help it. I've got to just sit here like that.
You need to get yourself like a Rubik's Cube or a spinner or something like that, just to keep your hands occupied. With your Johnson.
I've got something for that.
It's a hell of a microphone, though, right? You're just over here going, just click, just normal, and everybody else is hearing, go.
I've got nothing to play with in here.
It's the mouse of Zeus.
So I'm for one. I'm happy for this writer strike. I'm happy for the actor strike because it gives us all the time to sit back and just chill out and just stop consuming the shit they're force feeding us.
Go back. Go back over some old films I haven't seen for a long time.
It's annoying because I think they have a point. It's just the people that would get the benefit from it are people who should not be writing in the first place. So I'm kind of fucked either way.
Also, just to mention this in closing, apparently Bob Iger earns $25 million a year. He's just extended his own contract, which is nice, and he is saying that the pay rises of these writers is it's not something, it's not viable. Just to get that out there.
I'm wondering. Okay, so Iger made this mess. I think we're all agreed on that. He was supposed to, kind of right the ship and head off into the sunset. But now he's redoing his contract. He's going to stay until 2026. Is this him trying to continue to clean up his mess, but try to do it in a way that says, "Oh, I was right all along"? But because if the parks aren't pulling in, which means the cruise ships probably aren't pulling in anymore, the movies aren't pulling in, the streaming service, which was his bread and butter, that was his legacy, it's dying on the vine. He's got to pay all this money to Hulu, to Universal to own Hulu, and then they're going to wrap that all into Disney Plus. I'm kind of like going, if they don't have some hits soon, they're not going to have the money to do any of this. And they've lost. It's getting into the billions on all these different millions.
Yeah.
And
it's going crazy.
So I admit that he's firing some woke executives and that sort of thing. He's starting to clean house. I hope that he continues to do that, but I'm kind of like, I don't know if Iger is even close to being able to be the guy to figure this out, or if he's paying himself into a corner at this point.
The thing is, Mannix just said that 25 million is not actually that much for a CEO these days. But this is the main problem. Whenever we've had strikes over here on the NHS, because the staff workers, the lowest of the kind of economic people here just aren't earning enough, and they want a pay rise, whereas the CEOs and everything else have been getting pay rises. So I mean, that 25 million, no, it's not a lot, but Disney have just fired 7,000 people. How many of those people could have been paid out of that 25 million? And it's not like Bob Iger works any harder than these people who are on the front line, doing the animation and doing the special effects and all this kind of stuff. It's horrible.
Hey, Disney, I can do it way better than Bob Iger for the bargain basement price of $10 million.
I'll do it for 9.
I could do it for 9.
I'll do it for 5. but I want airfare. You got to do airfare. I seriously, I mean, for a lot less money, I could do a better job. I really believe it.
Yeah, let's be honest, it's not hard. When you've got franchises like Star Wars and Star Trek, and DC and Marvel, you've got so much source material. It's practically impossible to fuck it up, and yet they've managed to do it. And you're like,
I can get it done in a day. I'll do it one day and retire. Kathy, you're fired. Okay, I'm out, everybody.
Yeah, see you later. It's remarkable the state we're in. It is remarkable the state we're in. And they keep going though. They don't just turn around and go, yeah, do you know what? We've made a massive. I mean, Tom Cruise is a prime example. Look what he's done recently with Mission Impossible 7. Mission Impossible, is it 7? And Maverick.
Matt, he's not going to have sex with you. Okay, come on, give it up.
But he's the perfect. Just entertain us. Stop with the preaching about gays and blacks and Hispanics and everything else. Just entertain us. It's not fucking
just make
difficult.
Movies. Yeah.
Thank you for watching this excerpt from Outpost Frequencies. Tune in live every Sunday at noon Central Time or 6 o'clock UK time. And also, remember to come to lastmovieoutpost.com for all your latest in movie news, streaming news, and everything cool about film. We are the cool news now. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next stream.